G'day Hexes and welcome to episode 5 of Monday Meta Madness. If you cannot tell by the two characters seen on the screen here, we will be covering Ruby Wild with Cressida as the champion. That's going to be today's deck, which we'll get into in a moment. But again, this is episode 5. I hope you're all doing well. And where is my thing gone here? So yeah, let's just get straight into it. Alrighty, so as you can see there, we have some of the key cards for the deck, and I'm calling it, just for today, the episode is going to be called I Creation. Is it real? I don't know, but as we all know, if you've read the book, Periwinkle pretty damn strong, one of the key factors of Ruby Wild, has been for a while, so you know, this Ruby Wild has been a strong contender in the meta for quite a long time. And was obviously a very dominant factor when we had Titania's Majesty, which is now a banned card for competitive play. You can still use it in PvE, however, which is pretty sweet. What's this? Puckhead Feats? I guess so. Why isn't Baby Yeti in the key cards? Because, yeah, no. Not even, no. So, you know, we've got some of the key cards here, but let's get into the actual client and we'll talk about these cards and the deck itself. I mean, the deck that I've got built is just what I've been experimenting with lately, but there's many variations, so we'll have a look at Hex meta as well. But let's get into the client here. Alright, let me actually also fix my chat. I just remembered it's still linked up to the Hex TCG channel, so let's change that. There we go. And we also have some text we don't need at the moment. There we go. So, as you can see here, the Ruby Wild version that I'm running right now has some things that aren't really, you know, like we've got some Oakench Ceremony, which is something I've been trying out the last few weeks, and have liked it a lot. I mean, it's something that, you know, been tried in the past many times, but I feel it does work in this deck, and there's many reasons to run it over something like a Howling Brave and things like that. Speaking of which, let's actually get that up on the top here, as I will talk about that in a minute. But again, so if you have questions during the show, just type at Hex Havoc followed by your question. So let's start with the early game. Now the one thing, as I was saying, the deck when it had Titania's Majesty, which I guess I'll show as well, but when it had this card, it was completely busted. And this card, it got banned for a reason. I'm not going to talk about it or anything like that, but that's the card there. When that was available to the deck, it was killing very consistently, very, very quickly, and that controlled the meta. The deck, when it lost this card, it lost obviously some of its oomph, but it still has its very early threats that they're not threats in themselves, as in they're going to kill you. This guy here, we got the Puck, the Dreambringer. He's not going to kill you himself, and same with Periwinkle. She's not going to hurt you. Know, she's only got 1 damage, but it's the threat of a threat that is the what makes these a threat. So we've got these two cards here. They're very key to the deck. So let me actually get back the Howling Brave here. As you will notice that a lot of people who run, basically, you know, there's a lot of the staples in the deck. You know, Pucks, Parries, your Crocosaurs, your Balthazar, your Root Fathers, your Eternal Sage, and the Eye of Creation. These are cards, and the Chlorophylla as well. These are cards that you're going to see in pretty much every list. And then the other remaining slots is going to be based on the player's taste or you know, how they were feeling that week. But you'll also find some people, you know, they'll put in Howling Braves as well. And I'm going to tell you why that's wrong. Now, that's just my opinion of why it's wrong, but I'll tell you why it's wrong. Howling Brave is never really a threat. He's not like, yes, he gets you a little bit of ramp, but if you put him down on turn 1, well, I mean, at the moment, the meta is not it's not really, you're not going to get punished too much in terms of heat waves in the current meta. Maybe post sideboard you will if you leave those in, because then, you know, you open yourself up to, you know, turn 1 Howling Brave, maybe you do a Periwinkle the next turn, or a Puck or what have you, and then that can all get heat waved and you're down multiple cards in that case. So that's one of the reasons why. But you also open yourself up to enemy Crocosaurs as well. But again, the reason why I think it's wrong to run him is because it's just not enough. It's not doing enough for you, and it's not a threat. Like your opponent will see that and go, oh well, the biggest thing you can play next turn is a 4-drop. Most depending and then even then, like even if you can do like for example, say you do that turn 1, and then you can do like maybe you do your sorry, I guess your 3-drop is technically accurate, but say you do the Periwinkle, that's fine, because Periwinkle is still the threat they need to deal with. It's the Howling Brave. It's not a big deal. It also doesn't synergize with your your puck and all that sort of stuff. It's just it's just not going to do enough for you. And while it does provide a threshold, as mentioned in the chat there, it's still just in a lot of cases you're going to be just not doing enough with it. It's never really a threat. And the deck, its early game is all about the big ramp. You need the really big ramp, and that's what Puck provides. That's why I've got 4 here. And then also that's a reason why I'm running Oakhenge Ceremony. Bella, what is wrong? What? No. You're not a Howling Brave. Come here. Alright, you can sit here. So, yeah, so Oakhenge Ceremony, the reason why I've added this in the deck instead of something like a Puck or, whatever I had in there before, it definitely wasn't the Brave, instead of the Brave, I meant to say, is because this can help you get to those must-needed early threats, your Puck and your Periwinkles. They are so important to the deck that without them, yes, if you then had Howling Braves, you got another chance to get down your fatties a bit earlier, but you're never going to have the real threats, which comes from your 7-cost Root Fathers. Eternal Sage can be somewhat threatening because it can do 8 damage in a swing, but something like if you did a Howling Brave into, even if it was an Eternal Sage, I mean it's just the threat there is I might take a bit of damage, but at least I'm not in a heap of trouble. Have you tried one more Oakhenge or one less Crocker? I've been tweaking this list just 20 minutes ago. So it's not like I've got some things I'll talk about what I'm thinking of changing. But I definitely do like Oakhenge. I was running 2 Oakhenge, gone up to 3, and I am thinking about doing 4. Yeah, Braves also do work with Sages, but again, it's just the key factor to the deck is really putting the pressure on your opponent with a turn 2 Puck or turn 3 Periwinkle, and that's why you want to make sure you're getting them. So we'll do a quick test draw here, just to have a look. Whoops, I hit the wrong button there. So there's some threats. So that's a pretty crappy hand. Alright, so I was going to show an example. Well, there's an Oakhenge. So let's use this one as an example here. Would this hand have got, do we get what we want, which is one of those early threats? Because again, that's what we need. Why is it showing, it's doing 75 cards? Silly thing. So, anyway, let's try that one more time here. How do I fix that again? I think I have to save it. Save the deck before it'll actually just use 60. There we go. Well, we've already got the threat. But next, so many cards. So in that sort of case, when you've already got the early threat there, being the Puck, you would grab, most likely the Root Father or Jadim in this case. Anyway, so the Oakhenge Ceremony does work quite well, and I am thinking of going up to 4 because you don't, in this case you don't have any 1-drops anymore because unless you're running Howling Brave. But if you've just got the Oakhenge Ceremony, you're running enough troops in the deck. We've got 25 currently, and it does work in many cases, not just in your early game, to grab one of the early threats. That again, I feel they are a must-have. If you don't get these in the early game, you're going to be very slow in, well, not very slow, but you're going to be too slow against a lot of decks in the current meta. So, without the Puck or the Peri as those really nasty threats, like I've seen games that people have played where they've put down a Puck, they've got nothing in their hand, like they've got just all shards or something. Their opponent, however, doesn't know this. So they're just going to still have to, like say you're against Wintermoon, they're still going to ripple this. And they're still, while they can deal with this, they will, because the threat of the threat is just, it's very, it's insane. Like an early Root Father will GG most decks. So, that just ignoring it is something decks cannot really do. If they don't have the answer, well then sure, they're going to ignore it, but if they've got the answer, they're going to kill a Puck, they're going to kill a Periwinkle. Their power level is just that high that you can't really ignore them. So we had a question here. What are your thoughts on Feral Domination? I believe I have it in the sideboard. I did have it in some version. It is something I guess I took out at some point, but yeah, no, Feral Domination is something I've been wanting to make work in this deck, but it does slow down your potential. It's definitely good in the sideboard. I probably will put it back in there at some point, but it does potentially just slow down your curve, because it's something that doesn't synergize with the Puck, for example. So you want to make sure, and that's why the deck is running mainly just troops. And in this case, all the troops here that you see all do synergize with the Puck. And then and they all, everything gets. The only one downside to running, say, Jadim, for example, is the unique factor with the Periwinkle. But as a one-off, it's okay. Bella, sit still. Yeah. So sorry, what's this? How you going there, king size? I'm interested in building this deck. Can you explain how it works? Well, that's what the show's all about, buddy. So, so strap yourself in. Alright, so what was I talking about? So yeah, Puck and the Peri, they are essential. So I'll briefly go over what they do. So Puck, for each troop in your hand that is 5 or greater, which as you can see we have, majority of the troops are, that's like 20, no, less than 20. That's, 8 through before 7, blah, blah, blah. It's like 18 troops or something that we have down here that are all synergized with Puck, giving us that really fast acceleration. And that's why, I was running 3, and I probably will go back to 3, honestly, and just put another Okenge Ceremony in. Because, he is unique after all, and you don't want to get a hand of several, and the Okenges are there to help you grab him. But that is what I was talking about. So Okenge Ceremony. So the reason why this fits very nicely in the deck, obviously we have lots of troops. But even if you're not using it early game, so you don't draw it early game, so you don't get to grab a Puck or a Peri, or maybe you already have them, they obviously in the mid to late game, you can use it and grab. Say you're needing more cards and you need a heal or something, and you've already got a Eternal Sage on the board. Maybe you grab a Balthazar, which is the deck's only way to get really real card advantage. Obviously, Hive Creation has a chance to get you some advantage, so Balthazar there, you can grab him. If you need a squirrel, you can grab that. If you just want to get your finisher, being the Root Father, because your opponent's tapped out, you got Okenge can help you each turn. Mid game, late game, early game. You've got things that you're potentially wanting to grab. Be it a Crocus or as well. Obviously to eat multiple troops. So what's that? Where is Balthazar? Hey, it's right there, but that's from Collector Tier. How much would this cost on the auction? The deck? Let me just quickly look at this and tell you a number. It's probably going to be wrong, but let's see. 24. That's probably about 56. 5, 6. 7.1, 7.4, 7.8, 8.6, 8, 9, 10, 11. About 11.6 thousand platinum. 11,600 platinum, roughly. So there you go. That's just, I probably miscalculated some of that, but that's just rough guess there. And, you got Eye of Creations at 1,000 platinum each. Puck's around 200. The other cards, over here are fairly cheap. Actually, Chlorophylla is actually around 100, actually. Periwinkle, about 100 on average, I think. Jadim, probably about 3-4. Crocosaurs at 300 each. Eternal Sage around 700 at the moment. Balthazar shouldn't be too much at all. And then Root Father being widely going up and down all over the place. But the alternate art one is around, if you want an alternate art, that is, it's around 1,200 on now and then, 1,400 most of the time. But about 600 on average, probably for the non-alternate art version. But yeah, anyway, that gives you a bit of an idea. It's pretty expensive. Definitely not something you want to just dive in, but it is. like, you know, look, let's put it this way. When, like I was mentioned before, the deck obviously lost some of its power when it came to Titania's Majesty, and obviously the health changes as well. It was one of the things that turned a lot of people away. The 17 health of Cressida here is pretty rough. So let's just show that real quick here. So Cressida at 17, or Cressida at 17 health, at 17 health here is, you know, thanks Esoterrorist. Yeah, I mean, you could be right there. It could be more, but yeah. So 17 health was one of the things that turned a lot of people away. However, the deck, you know, it wasn't because the deck wasn't good in the meta. The deck is a deck that is always asking the question. You know, it's wanting to ask the questions anyway. And that's where these guys come in. Those early threats, no other deck really has them. These threats that you have to answer, that if you ignore them, then the real threats come down. You know, like I said, they're threatening the threats themselves. So if you ignore those two cards, then potentially something you can't deal with comes down, and then you just lose. As you know, the impact. You know, Periwinkle copying your 5-cost cards, and you suddenly have 2 Eternal Sages on the board. Now that's still, see, this sort of curve here, if you did turn 3 Peri into a Sage, that can still be beaten by something like a Blood deck, you know, with Extinction. That can still, you know, reset the game. But, you know, obviously the deck still has many good top decks with these guys over here. But, you know, that sort of stuff, it's still, you know, against a lot of decks, if that's still too much, you know, 2 Eternal Sages and a Peri still on the board, that means that if you're, for example, let's use Wintermoon as an example. If you've done a Periwinkle and they can't answer it, and then you did 2 Eternal Sages, their only out really at that point is, you know, Crocosaur. If they're running a list which is using 4 Crocosaur, that's still a decent answer, but they're going to have to then eat the Periwinkle, because that's something they do need to get rid of. So they eat the Periwinkle and one of the Sages, then they still have another Sage to get rid of. But, you know, it's just a lot of cases where you know, not dealing with these will be the end of the game. And as I was saying, there's really no decks other than this one that really has that kind of pressure. You've got like Wild Diamond has Puck, but I think they don't even run 4. Like, this deck doesn't normally run 4. It's something I've put in because it is, you know, it is essential, right? If you don't get him, then you're going to be sad in a lot of cases, or just slow, which is not something you want to be against, you know, Wintermoon. You don't want to be slow against Wintermoon for sure. Bella, stop trying to dig through the carpet, girl. So, yeah, it's these guys here, as I said, no decks really have those early threats that are, you know, have to be dealt with. Like, for example, if you look at like Blood with their Vampire Princesses and Vampire Kings, they are they are troops that you definitely want to deal with them. They're not as quick, obviously, as a Puck and a Periwinkle. But they, you know, like a Vampire Princess against this deck is something you could, in most cases, ignore even, and just, you know, if they're putting that down after you've put down, like, say you're on the play, and you put down a Puck and their response, or say they were on the play, sorry, and you put down a Puck on your turn 2, then they put down a Princess, well, that's you know, it's an unlikely scenario. Excuse me. Holy moly. Sorry, we got a question here. If Puck is essential, why not Acorns? Yeah, no, the elf count is not really that high. I mean, it would be sweet to be able to pull that off. And something I have been running is Temptress Blade Dancers in here instead of, like, you know, like, I've been changing stuff up here and there, but I don't think it's still enough. I would love to do that because that would be very nice for the deck. The deck does not need double ruby, no, not really. But still, not getting, you know, like, just getting screwed over because that shard is not giving you a threshold can be just, you know, you could die because of that. But yeah, so I will be taking challenges shortly. So again, if you have questions about the deck, just put @HEX Havoc in front, and I'll do a game. But I'm gonna actually do some changes now. But let's have a look at Hex Meta real quick. If I can find my linky links. So let's hope this still works. See if it still remembers. There we go. So that's good. It does still remember my screen capture. So you can, as you can see here, it's something that has been being used a lot. You know, you got different. Obviously, again, like I said, you're going to see a lot of these decks with all the staples that I talked about, and then people are going to start doing their own thing in most cases. Like Drew's Colossal Walker is a popular one. I've never really been a fan, just because, you know, you already got low health, and, you know, while it is very nice with Balthazar, and hitting in for 8 damage and then that's it, it can be good, can be bad though, if you're needing, you know, blockers and you can't really afford to untap it. There's a lot of cases where it's bad, there's a lot of cases where it's good, but, you know, Drew's Colossal Walker there, you know, that's something that you'll see regularly. As you can see in this list, it's only using one Balthazar, which maybe he's got alternate out ones here, but doesn't look like it. So this one's quite a different list, but because Balthazar is a very key component to the deck. But yeah, just the one in this version here. He's going for Eternal Guardians. A Sin down here, which Sin is something that, you know, people have. He's got Howling Brave as well. But yeah, so that, you know, it's again a different list. You got the main chunk. Actually, I don't even know if he had. Anyway, let's. So we got Voices here, which he was actually running pretty much the same as me, because we were running the same list. I think this is the one where he won the 5 shard. I don't know, but he won the 5 shards. I think it was not this weekend, but not the previous weekend. And you'll notice he is running the Temptress Blade Dances, which I was doing as well. The Oakhenge Ceremony. He only had 2 Eternal Sage. That was the main reason for having these in there. I guess they also had the Moss, which Moss is good. Don't get me wrong, but doesn't work with the Puck obviously and the Perry. But for the most part, as you can see, everything is pretty much the same in there. Let's have a look at something. Let's see. So that was Voices one there. Is around 15. I don't know how accurate these values are here, because I mean, yeah, obviously they're not completely accurate. Like the estimate I gave earlier at around 12k plat is, I mean, maybe I just missed something because I was doing it in my head, but I think that would, you know, be more accurate based on, you know, Auction House, as I've seen it in the last few days anyway. So here's another version. This one's using Sin. Some Sylvan Performers in there as well. So is it using Balthazar? Still is using 2 Balthazar. Yeah, see now, the thing with this type of version, you know, you've got Howling Braves, you've got Sylvan Performers. I assume it has Puck. Please tell me it's got Puck. There's Puck and Perry. So it's using a lot of Elves, so I assume it's got the Acorn in here. Where is it? Where's the damn shards? Oh wait, no, it's still using... That's interesting, because this version here could be easily getting away with Acorn, most likely. Let's see. So we've got 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. And, oh, I guess, yeah. It's a pity Howling Braves aren't Elves. maybe still not enough. But, you know, this sort of version, you know, if you were against Heatwave, you know, you've got a lot of things here that just die to Heatwave. You know, loads of cards there that if you're wanting to put them all out. Sorry, what was the question here? Oh yes, Empower is definitely going to help Cressida. I've already got some crazy ideas that I'm very excited to try. Empower with, you know, with both Perry and Puck. There's definitely some very nice troops that got me excited. Tim, what do you want me to scroll up for there, buddy? So yeah, so we've got. Let's go back to here. So again, so that, like I said, now the thing. Let me actually close this for a second here. The beautiful thing about, you know, Puck and Periwinkle is they're threats you put down, and you don't need to put anything else on the board. And very likely the next thing you're putting down is something that is not going to be able to be answered, you know, by one card, for example, you know, be it Heatwave. And that's the beauty of not running anything else, you know, like Howling Braves, or in the case of the deck we just looked at, Sylvan Performer, because we're not going to get punished by a Heatwave. If we're running this, you know, this specific list that you're looking at right now, a Heatwave is, you know, if they've got Heatwave, they're going to just use it against one, you know, be it a Puck or a Perry. They're not gonna, you know, maybe they'll get greedy and they'll, you know, maybe they've got a burn as well. But let's just say all they had was a Heatwave. Well, then they're gonna have to use it as a 1-for-1 pretty much every time. We're never gonna get, you know, punished, you know, for having these, because these are threats you put down by themselves and they need to get answered, and then you just put down another one potentially and so on. But let me read the chat here. Why do you run Squirrel Titans? Experimented with them in the past. They've always seemed lackluster. Best they can do is battle a vampire king. Usually they get killed in response to the battle. Yeah, no, I agree. Like they're something that I only had one in here before starting the show, and I thought, no, I'll just take out the blade dancers and put in another squirrel for now, just cause whatever. But that's something where obviously set 4 coming up. Like I still think this sort of the pucks and the parries are still going to be a thing. But this deck will evolve quite nicely as we'll be able to get rid of these lackluster cards. And I do agree, it is lackluster. There's definitely some very nice cards, especially like I said with Empower, that will fit into this deck very nicely. Yeah, so let me read the rest of the chat here. What do you think about Primal Dawn? Well, the card itself, I don't think it's going to be constructed viable, really. Because, it's random, you're getting them in your hand, it's, I'd rather just, yeah. Like, you've got Balthazar, he's going to actually get you stuff. Like, he heals you, provided, like, yes, he has a requirement of needing stuff in your hand, but, like, he gets you just as much card advantage, or if not more in most cases, than something like Primal Dawn. They're fairly similar costs. The meta is Spider deck, right? But, yeah, so, yeah, the deck will, I would easily take these out. I mean, even Sage is probably going to get cut, as, while he's good, it's definitely, there's going to be better options than a Sage, I think. So these would probably get cut. Jadim will get cut. That's just, it's in there because it is a nice flyer, don't get me wrong, but just not being able to be utilized with Perry does hurt a little bit. And also the 3 threshold, but we're going to get a lot more cards, so yeah. So the reserves, what do I got in there? So the reserves, mainly just anti-aggro. Like that's one of the things this deck does work very nicely against is aggro. And then this sideboard here though, what you're looking at is just complete crap. To put it simply, like. This shouldn't be in there. Like I said, I did have one of them in the main, one in the side, and I just changed that just before. But Heat Wave, just existing does. If this card didn't exist, aggro would be so much more viable. But this card here is the aggro checker. While this exists, while it's playable in constructed, it will continue to even just by existing, it's going to stop people from going all in, all the time. So, I think set 4 will have definitely some nice aggro decks, but Heatwave will still be there to help out. But as you can see, the sideboard here obviously very nice, and these are good here as well in mirror matches, because again, your Periwinkles and your pucks are the main early threats that you really do need to deal with. But so Incendium says probably wants Scorn in the sideboard, and yeah, the thing is though, right, like I said before, this type of deck is a deck that wants to be asking the questions. It's like, alright, here's a puck, do you have it? Do you have the answer? Here's a Periwinkle, do you have the answer? Like, I've seen games, and had games, where, you put down, like, a puck, they kill it. You put down another puck, they kill it. You put down a Periwinkle, and they're like, oh, damn, I'm out of answers. And then from there, you just, maybe at that point, because you've probably been playing your resources, at that point, maybe you just play the big rude daddy himself, and you just kill him. But yeah, it can be, especially if in that sort of order, when the last thing that's sticking around is a parry, if you can then follow that up with something like that, which is unlikely because you're probably still not enough resources, but a copied Root Father is pretty rough. 2 Windsinger in a row in Sealed Gauntlet, very nice, Yazzie. So let's go back to let's change some of the stuff here. So I'm going to try with 4 Oakhenge, and I'm going to take out one of these pucks, because I think like I said, the whole point of Oakhenge is to make sure in the early game you've got these early threats. If you can help it. Obviously you're still going to have games where you're not going to get them regardless. And yeah, like I said, I want to get rid of these. I could just put in Temptress Blade Dancers again. They're 5 drops, got speed, can be alright, but they're also, just like the squirrels, they're lackluster. If I wanted to, though, I could do Heart of the Wrathwood. It's another 6-drop. Like there's an abundance of good 6-drops, and there is Jewish Colossal Walker as I mentioned for 5 drops and all that. Let's actually sort this by cost. I could put, just for a bit of lols, I could put a Smash to the ground. Just kidding. So yeah, like I don't really, I don't want to go to more like 7 drops or even higher than that. Like it's definitely doable, and you can do Eternal Guardians if you like, and stuff like that. But I prefer to just have a lot of 5 drops if I can help it, and that's why I was saying, when we get set 4, when we get Primal Dawn, the deck will be even better, as we don't quite have enough. Like one thing, I wouldn't mind running is this guy. Well, I mean, if it was in Wild, that'd be better. I've thought about Cerberus again as well, but like it's also in Ruby, and you want to be primary Wild, of course. You could go for, if you want to be like, just try and be a luck sack and get this onto something crazy, but that's just silly. There's a bunch of 5 drops, but just not quite good enough. Filcade can be good, as a sideboard card. I have actually ran it with Mesmeric Hypnoscientist, and it actually works pretty nice, because you can tunnel it and then have it pop out when you've got a Peri on the board or something like that, and that can be pretty sweet. And it could make sure you're hitting in with your beaters. Can be nice. But, again, it is Ruby. While it is only 1 Ruby, it's still, you want to go for the most consistent options. But it does work rather nice. You know what, I'll put it in there just to show you guys. We'll see if we can... Because even if you just play that out and getting it copied with a Periwinkle and you've got some threats, you're very likely going to be able to hit in because of that. So I'll put them in just for the sake of this. But other than that, again, there's... even like a one-of Orc Gladiator can be nice, as it's a very nice effect that she has. But the double Ruby again, it's kind of like eh. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Primal Dawn, so I can update this and make it a lot stronger. Yeah, Ash Harpies, again, it's alright. It's a pretty good. It can be pretty good. Again, I want to stick to, if I can help it, 5 drops. But you can definitely get away with doing Ash Harpy, which is the 6 cost, and the Heart of the Wrathwood you'll see a lot of people use as well. Even some people go with Battle Beetles, which are not horrible. Where's Ash Harpy? There she is. So, obviously the speed is nice, don't get me wrong, speed is very nice. Why are you not playing 4 of Puck and Periwinkle if they're so central? Well, I mean, that's one of the things I was talking about there, Mr. King Size, is because now we've got... I mean, they are unique, but also we're running now 4 Oakhenge Ceremony, which is something I normally don't run that many, but I figured I'll try it today. As these can help us get to either the early threats or in the late game get us to our finishers, basically. So Outlaw might work, says Incendium. I mean, you say that, but we're already using up speed and damage on this guy, so we would have to then use... Yeah, I mean... Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm basically just trying, like, if it wasn't... Like, I still wouldn't mind having, 4 Puck, but, now that I've got 4 Oakhenge, I'm going to go with just the 3 and 3. So basically, all the unique cards here we've got 3 of. And I'm just throwing those in just for whatever's. And then the sideboard, let's actually fix this up, let's take that out. So let's actually get a Feral Domination, and we'll just do a 1 of. Why not? So we'll save that. One thing I've also been thinking of trying is actually taking out Chlorophyllio, and I know that's going to sound crazy to some of you, but I could take these out and just put another Puck, another Peri, and then just even another 2 5-drops, for example, as a possible option, and just and then you've still got these, so it's a high probability you'll get to your Pucks and your Peris, and yes, they might die, but when you're running that many of them. It's a little bit of a risk. Obviously, Cressida, though, the fact that we've got access to Cressida, does help out a lot there. Just meaning you might still be able to play your 5 drops on time, like a Crocosaur. Does hurt though, just like the main reason for Chloro is you need the thresholds, obviously, but not all of them. I wouldn't take out all of them most likely, but it's something I think we could cut some. Like if I wanted to, I could probably take out one here for another puck, just to make sure, you know, try it again, just to really, really make sure we're getting that puck. But there will be obviously games where you get too many pucks. So we'll try it like this for now. I'm going to leave that as it is. So yeah, any questions about the deck? I mean, most of you are obviously going to be familiar with it. But for those of you who are not, obviously, you know, I've talked about the pucks and the parries there being your main early threats in the early game, and how Howling Brave is not really what you want to do. It's not enough of a threat. You know, if you put it down on turn 1, it's not like your opponent's going to be like, oh, he's going to be able to now do this on turn 2 or this on, you know, it's still not enough. They're not going to be worried too much. They're still going to be waiting to see if you're going to put down a puck or a Periwinkle, and then they're going to maybe start worrying. But a Howling Brave is just not, it doesn't do enough. And then obviously, you know, when it comes to your control cards, you know, the deck is, you know, another one, just like Ruby Wild, with the lack of interaction. You know, you're just mainly relying on Crocosaur to keep your opponent in check, and just having the threat of the Crocosaur, like they know you're going to be running 4 of them, so just by them knowing that, they will play differently against this deck, knowing that they can't overcommit, and sometimes they're going to have to because they're just in trouble. But you can't really overcommit to this type of deck because of Crocosaur, unless they've got, you know, the backup, of course. But then you've got the Eternal Sages, which can, you know, all this stuff, you know, works with Parry and Puck. But Eternal Sage with its, you know, the Ruby effect here, so you can kill little weenies with the deal 1 damage to all opposing troops when you play a Ruby. Can be nice in certain situations, especially if you've got multiple on the board. Then you've got Balthazar as your card draw engine and some heals. And then your biggest finisher being Rootfather. And Eye of Creation over here, of course. Which you don't need to run 4 of this, and in some cases it's correct not to, as it doesn't work with Puck or Puck. You know, you're not going to get, you know, Puck only works with troops. But Eye of Creation is obviously very powerful. You know, revealing the top X, so you put in, say you do 7 resources, so you look at the next 4 cards. Obviously if you've got Periwinkle on the board, that's sweet, you're going to look at 8, and you're going to put each revealed troop into play. And it's a card that, you know, sometimes it's going to win you the game, sometimes it's going to do nothing, and, you know, sometimes you'll do it for 1 and win, sometimes you'll do it for 10 and lose. You know, there is, it's just one of those cards. But I think come Primal Dawn, possibly it gets put down to, you know, like I'd probably put this down to 3, because I'm gonna want more really good troops, and there's gonna be a lot more, of course. So I'd probably consider cutting that down to 3 as well. You know, like I said, the Sages and these would get, you know, those would get cut for better options. The Crocosaur is going to be fairly essential for probably a long time. Jadeem can get cut as well. Again, doesn't come in a combo with the Periwinkle as it's unique. So yeah, and the sideboard that I've got there definitely needs some updating, which again, go check out, actually load it back up here, Hex Meta. So let's actually have a look here again. So if I scroll down, which you can see there's a lot of decks listed here. I can't even scroll, like it's just loading. There's actually 753, I don't know if that's decks or or what. I assume it's like different names or just different results. So I don't know if you can see that number there. Yes, you can. So 753, and this is as far back as, you know, these are obviously going to be people where they were running Titania's Majesty, I'd imagine. Let's actually check that. Maybe not. Maybe not. But you can see, even just as far back as this is back in 2015. Oh, I guess because it's, yes, that's the 10th month. So, yeah. So you can see all the stuff, you know, the staples are still there. In this case, only 2 pucks, which I definitely don't agree with, but this is, you know, an old list. You know, they're running Howling Braves, Parries, and Pucks. Master Moss, still an alright option, but, you know, I prefer to be comboing with the Parries and the Pucks as much as possible. So, you know, as far back as then, there's a lot of results. It's a deck that never really went down in power, you know, after the health changes to the champions. It's just, you know, it does make it a bit tougher against aggressive decks, you know, like Mono Ruby, as they can just run you over before you do anything. But then after you're putting your reserves in, though, you'll have a much better matchup. So you likely will lose game 1 against that type of deck. So you can see lots of different results here. So you've got plenty of data to go through if you want to look at what people have tried and what people have failed with, what people have succeeded with. Lots and lots of data to go through there. But yeah, like I said, one of the biggest weaknesses for the deck, if you just look at what we have there in the main deck, we don't really have, our biggest answer, which is something we can cast early, which is Crocosaur. But thanks to Cressida, if we don't hit that third wild, you're probably dead. But after the reserves, you've got 4 Heatwave. That alone is huge. If you get one of those, you're probably, depending on the aggro deck you're against, of course. Then you've got all this stuff you can bring in here. And this version of the sideboard, can definitely be better. But that increases your chance of winning against, but you're probably going to lose game 1 with this sort of list against a very, all-in aggro deck. But knowing that they're all in, they don't have, there's no real surprises. Maybe sans a Soul of Battle or something. But knowing that there's no real surprises in a, like for example, take the Mono Ruby Orc deck. They're just throwing out troops and just hitting things, swinging and hitting, maybe doing some crushing blows and burns and bolts. It's a very straightforward deck. So once if you know you're against that, you should know immediately what you're going to need to bring in from the sideboard, and then it's just a matter of who draws better at that case. But you should have the upper hand. But game 1 you'll have a tough time. But yeah, really, other than really aggressive decks, this does have a good matchup pretty much against everything, because it, like I said, no other deck really has those early threats that really just can't. You can ignore in other decks most early threats. Well, Side of the Sun is another one that you can compare, but that also can be ignored. But it's also still very risky, and if they can answer it, they will. Your opponents, but. These are cards that if you ignore them, you can just be dead. So let me have a read of the chat here. You must know Nero shuffle cards to me because I can't see any sport cards going into the deck. Well, let me use one as an example here. Let me see if I've got the image. Give me a second here. I believe I might have deleted it. What was it called? I did delete the image, but I'm pretty sure I can find it again. But it's like a Sting Shot Sniper or something. Like it's an Empower 3-drop, so you can make it a 6-drop. Has a very powerful effect. Like that alone is something as an Empower card that you can you can power at pretty much any point, and then just make it so it combos with Puck and Perry. And it is a very powerful Ruby threat. I think it's only 1 threshold. Might be 2. I could be wrong. I'll quickly try and find it here. Give me a second. It was revealed not too long back, so I should be able to find it on the website. HEXTCG.com. So let me quickly have a look here. Was it this one? I think it was this one. Sonic Flame. Nope. Must be the one before that. I think I found it. Here we go. Sting Shot Sniper. So it's actually double Ruby. But, you could just run more Ruby. Like do 8 instead of an 8 and 12, for example. But that is a very nice card, the Sting Shot Sniper. So let me save the image here and bring that up. It's just one example of something that is a very nice troop that does work with them. Sniper wouldn't work with Puck though, right? Yeah, it would. Let me bring it up. Give me just a second to get that captured. Stream graphics. Here we go. Okay, and let's reset that. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Oh, it's too big. So you might think, well, that doesn't work. It's a 3-cost. Well, thanks to the beautiful Empower here that is new to Primal Dawn, we can make it, say for example we're playing, oh damn it, it's not what I meant to do. I didn't want to make it bigger again. Back, get down. There we go. Let's center the sucker, that's what I meant to do. So, say you were to play a Puck. Then, even before you play Puck, you can just empower it, you can do it at any point. But obviously you would empower once the Puck is stuck to the board. So say it's your turn again, Puck's on the board. you could then empower this guy, makes it 6 cost. You can then tap the puck, and you'll get the resource from this, because it'll now be a 6 cost, 4/4 that has that very nice effect that will, when it attacks, in this case, since we've empowered it, it will deal damage to its damage, so 4 in this case, to 2 random opposing champions or troops. So the fact that it's evasion with flight, that is a lot of damage that your opponent is going to be taking. And the fact that it's also a 4/4 means it gets past, things like Vampire Kings and Princes and stuff. But of course, the whole meta is going to change. But yeah, it's something I'm excited about with Empower cards, and this one is a very nice Empower card. Very sweet. I'm definitely looking forward to making decks with this guy. But it is something that, good point there, Tim Legore. It's actually something I didn't even realize just till now, is that it is a elf. But like I said, because it is double ruby, you might want to change your resource base a little bit. If you're including, I would probably run 4 of these, but it all depends. We might see even better troops, but this is a very powerful troop by itself. As let's just say your opponent has no troops on the board, and you've got this guy empowered. You've played him out on turn 3. Say you've done the puck into this. Your opponent has just sitting there with counter magics or something. Well, then you're just swinging in. That's 4 damage from the hit, and then as it will do now, I'm pretty sure if there's no troops, well then it will just go all to the opponent's face. So then you'll do 12 damage with just this one guy. So pretty damn... I assumed Empower was a decision you made as you were casting. I'm pretty sure you empower a card, and then it just changes it in your hand. Like, you can just, right-click it, change it, and then you can just have it sit there. I think. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. So I think, however, it does... You are right though. I mean, yeah, you can't obviously do double wild for the puck and then do this. Yeah, you're right. It's just anyway, but still, it's very nice. Get this guy copied. I mean, it's a very big threat. Let's put it that way. And yes, as Roy points out, you're not going to be putting this out in 3 if you're using the puck. But maybe there'll be other ways. We have seen Voice of the Ashwood after all. We might see it in that type of deck. More so than this, but it is something that can fit. But Empower again, so yeah, I mean it depends when Empower works, right? So yeah, it may have been actually, because maybe from what I've heard is wrong. I don't know, but if it does work like that, where you activate it, it then changes the card in your hand, and then you can do what you want with it. Either leave it in your hand and have it utilized with puck, for example. It's all gonna. That's obviously going to make all the difference. So yeah, let's get into a game here. So who would like to challenge me? Just send me a whisper. The first person to whisper me, I will challenge, and we'll go from there. So then we'll see what things we like. Do we like the 4 weekends? We'll find out. And the Mesmeric Hypno, it's not that great, but I'll leave it in there just for a bit of lulz. Again, yeah. Alright, so Roy, just send me a whisper in game. Obviously, Havoc is my in-game name. But yeah. So at the end of the day, this deck it's fairly straightforward, really, when you think about it. It's all about, here's my early threats, can you deal with them? No, okay, here's now the bigger threats, can you deal with those? No, okay, I win. There's not a whole lot of surprises, but that's where Primal Dawn will most likely change that up quite a bit. And maybe we'll even have a better champion, because that is, like I said, one of the main reasons people stopped playing it was the 17 health. And there may be a champion, maybe you forego the extra ramp, rely more heavily on pucks and stuff, and go with maybe we'll get some nice new champion that fits really nicely in this type of deck. So let's see, waiting for a whisper. First person to do it is who I'm going to challenge. I guess I'll save this again just to make sure. I probably should tweak this reserves, but it'll do for now. So let's go to this screen here. And there's a whisper, and we've got Roy. Alright, so challenge. Nope, that's a different version of it. So, iCreation, here we go. According to the spoiler page, whenever you play an Empower card, you can choose. Alright. Interesting. So yeah, maybe it won't work. Still, I mean, there's going to be enough cards that in set 4, you know, that like maybe we're not using Empower cards in the deck, but we're getting a whole bunch of new troops. So, and then we haven't seen a lot of the cards yet. So I'm sure we'll mirror match. Roy, what are you doing? So here's okay. That's an interesting hand right there. I mean, let's see how good this is going to be for us here. So we've got the turn 1 Oakend, which is nice. He's got the turn 1 Howling Brave, which I'm fine with. What is this? It's Root Daddies galore. That's a lot of Root Daddies. So the upside of obviously of Root Father being a very powerful 7 cost, you can cycle it. So in this case, we didn't get what we wanted there, but we will be able to cycle these. But that's didn't really get my explosive start. Really would have liked a Puck, obviously, for turn 2. What does he have? The Puck can't do a parry. So he's Howling Brave. Like I was saying, the Howling Brave in most cases is just not going to do enough for you. And he does have the Puck though. So that's, but just like, say this Howling Brave was a 5-drop. Well, then that obviously, because he doesn't need this. This is, maybe it allows him to do a 7 cost next turn or something, but yeah. My hand is kind of bad right now. So, yeah, not looking good. Not looking good for me here. He's got the threats down, and obviously, like I said, this deck, also doesn't really have the answers in the main. But post reserves, I'll be able to, against him, bring in Heatwave, which he'll probably bring in like burn and stuff and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm probably, depending on what he's got here, if he just swings with both, I'll be surprised. Okay, so he is going to play, let's see how many, maybe we'll see an Eternal Sage or something. So there's 5, yeah, Eternal Sage comes down. So that's still obviously really bad. Now there's the Puck. He's a little bit late to the party, so I'm potentially taking too much damage here, maybe even just dying. So, yeah. So I have to play the Puck here, play the Ruby, and yeah. Next turn, I will actually have enough resources, I believe. 3, 4, yeah, I'll have easily enough to play one of these. But will I even last a turn? That's the thing. Mirror matches are very much like this. He got the Puck down first. If he now has the like a Root Father of his own and a Ruby, I mean, even if he has a Root Father, I'm still pretty much dead. Regardless if he has, because he's out of the gate quicker than me, and that's the the big factor in the mirror match. Had I had this for turn 2, it would have been a whole nother story, but wasn't to be. However, he's only got 1 fatty in hand, so that's a pretty big deal. And he can't use this yet, so the best he can do is cast maybe another Eternal Sage, and then has he done a shard? I'm not sure now. I actually might be alright here, knowing that he only has 1 fatty in hand, so that probably means he's got some Eye of Creations in hand, at least 1 I would say. But yeah, also... Alright, so there is a Ruby. So no other Eternal Sage, otherwise he would have killed my Puck by having 2 of these out. As you can see, it did 1 damage to my Puck there. So there's no Eternal Sage, so we might see... I mean, maybe he's just going to do a Balthazar, which if... I'm still pretty much dead if he does that. So now, here comes the Root Father, maybe? So he did have it. I don't know why he didn't just kill me. So that was a bit strange. What are you doing, buddy? I mean, I'm still dead. I'm still dead, but he could have done that. Forced me to block with the Puck, like, I am still dead. There's nothing I can do at this point. Yeah, so he admits he misplayed a mid. It doesn't matter, though. Like I said, he was out of the gate faster than me, therefore he wins. That's how the deck works. As you can see, he got a very good curve. And most decks, if you didn't kill, if I had the ability to kill this, well, as we saw, he, didn't really. This would have been his best threat he puts out. That was his only other fatty. Maybe it's an Eye of Creation and something else. But if this had died, if I had the ability to kill this, like say I was some other deck, well then he then would be fairly slow. Yeah, so I'm obviously dead here. I'll just play the Root Father just for the sake of it. Why not? But yeah, if if you're up against this and, you know, like, you don't deal with it, you're very likely dead. Oh, the whiffing claw. Oh, I'm taking him out. Get out of the deck. Oakhenge Ceremony. So, I mean, it's a mirror match, right? You know, I had the potential to get the early, you know, the puck from the first Oakhenge, and but no, I don't regret keeping that hand. That's how mirror matches pretty much go. So I have the option of bringing these in. I think I'll just do a couple of those and some of those instead, though. And then I take out these lackluster cards. So I still need to cut one more. So we'll cut one of those. Damn Oakhenge whiffing. That is obviously the downside of Oakhenge Ceremony. It can whiff even if you're running a lot of troops in the deck. Still can do nothing. Which is bad. But, you know, when it works very nicely. Like I was actually talking to Voices when he won with it. Because, you know, we decided to include that in the deck. And then he went and won with it. And I'm like, did you like the Oakhenge? He's like, yeah, that's the MVP. Like, it won him so many games. So, yeah, I'm just going to save that. That'll do. So I now have some more. You know, again, the deck is all about the pucks and the parries, really. You slow them down. I mean, it's like if you look at Wild Diamond, as I talked about in, what episode was it? Episode 3? When I talked about JJ's deck from the Invitational. You know, that deck is, you know, very, very reliant on puck to really put the pressure on. Otherwise, it's, you know, in a lot of cases too slow against the current decks in the meta, and the threats, you know, the threats that do come down in most cases can be ignored. You know, it's like, oh, I don't need to kill that. I'll just put down my threat, or I'll you know, continue on my game plan, and then wait for you to put down something I do have to deal with, or what have you. But you know, that deck obviously not having Periwinkles, which is something they tried in the reserves, which I still don't agree with, as the thresholds are very tough. So I have double Oakhenge this time, so that's actually pretty cool. Let's see if it works. Let's see if that works out for us. Is it going to whiff? If it whiffs, you're getting out of the deck, Oakhenge. Don't fail me. Don't do it. There we go. So that's what we wanted. We got it now. We do have... It's not going to be a turn 2, but that's fine. Unless, of course, I draw a wild shard. But there we go. So that's what the Oakhenge is designed for, to make sure we're getting this. If you don't have it in your opening hand, you're basically, you know, by having the Oakhenge there, you're just saying, alright, what are the odds of me getting a puck in my top 13, or what is it? Yeah, top 12 cards, basically. You know, and in this case it worked. I may not be able to play it yet, but that's fine, I've still got it, and we did get the wild shard off the top. So, that is a big deal. And now that we have another Oakhenge, we can now very likely, unless we, you know, whiff, which is still a possibility. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. Now we have the possibility of putting another fatty in the hand. We're still probably not going to be able to, because we are obviously going to use a resource to do it, but we're still going to be able to put another fatty in the hand. In this case, though, we might even just, let's see, depends on what I draw here. Drawing a fatty would be nice. Okay, that's not quite what I wanted. So, let's see, so we're getting 2 resources, so, damn it, I need to actually play this. So I wanted to, you know, obviously it would be nice to do that, then that, to kill this. But in this case, we don't have that opportunity. So that makes things a little tricky here. Because he got the puck as well. So, let's think about that. So I could just put that down. Doesn't do... You know what? I'm going to actually do this here. So that's pretty decent. That's pretty decent. So now, I can keep my puck around. We'll get rid of his one. Actually, first let's do that. And we'll do that. So that worked out. Again, so there's the Oakhenge doing something nice for us. We get the ability to grab what we need at the time. I've got my ramp dude. I've also got ramp over here, and I've got that. So I can still, even if he now has an answer to my puck, which, you know, he would probably need a ruby for, because if he had a Carnosaur himself, he very likely would have done that to slow me down. So now I'm going to battle that, gain a little bit of health, which is actually very relevant. But so now I've got my potential for this guy next turn, which is obviously a very big deal. and we've slowed him down very considerably. As the best he can do now is like a Master Moss, kill the puck. Maybe he does a Periwinkle or something. Oh, sorry, no, sorry. He can do a 5-drop. So it's Eternal Sage or something. Druze. Okay, that's fine. That's actually pretty decent for him though, as it is something that can stop me attacking with the Rootfather, but that's okay. But as you saw, the Oakhenge Ceremony working 2 out of 2 there, and that's a very nice draw. So let's now do that. Now the beautiful thing here is I will obviously play this. I will do that to his face. And now, here's the downside of Druze Colossal Walker coming in here. He can't realistically untap this, so I'm just going to take the hit from him. And we know he can't play, now that I've dealt with his puck, he can't play a Rootfather of his own. So I'm pretty much in a position now where it's almost impossible for me to lose. Just like in the first game, it was almost impossible for him to lose. Because I didn't obviously have the main deck Carnosaurs or Burns and stuff. So now that I'm in this sort of position, it's basically impossible for me to lose here. And he doesn't have a charge power anymore. He doesn't have the acceleration that puck provides. So he's going to do a Chlorophylla. That doesn't really do anything. This is forced to attack, and yeah, pretty much he is dead. Like I said, it's pretty much impossible for me to lose, as there is many ways I can kill him here. And the easiest one being that he has to block here. Oh, okay. Now he's like, whatever. I'm gonna do that if you've got it. I mean, he was dead anyway because this would come. Oh, there's another one. So we got all the Root Daddies, all the Root Daddies. Blam. So now he just dies, obviously. So we'll just do that to his face. So we're going to a game 3 here. But as you can see, it's all about the pucks and the parries. In this case, just puck is very important. Periwinkle can, in some cases, be worse than a puck, though, because it's all about really getting down those threats that are very tough to deal with, like the Rootfather, for example. It's very, very hard to deal with once it's on the board, especially if it's got Spell Shield as well. But a Periwinkle, if you put that down and then you do a Rootfather, well then sweet, but it's unlikely you can do that, because obviously Periwinkle doesn't give you that acceleration that puck does. And if you've done a puck and then a Peri and then the Rootfather, well then that's amazing that you were able to do that, basically, and not get interrupted on any of those cards. Like, if you can do that, well, you're probably going to win anyway, if your opponent did just let you do that. But yeah, puck is obviously very important, because, your big threats is really what it's all about, and your Rootfather obviously is the biggest one. So, I'll just leave it. Actually, you know what? Let's think about this. I'm going to just do that. I like me some Carnosaurs. So we'll do those instead of the... Oh, error saving, okay. It probably worked. We'll find out. But yeah, so the Oakhenge did work really nice in that game. But as I said before, there's going to be times where it doesn't work. But it's all about, how often does it do. Like, if I didn't have it in that second game there, would have been pretty bad. Now this hand... It's pretty rough because double dual shard, but I'm still going to keep it because I do have these. Now, it may be too slow because I am on the draw, so it's probably going to be too slow. But I'm going to just hope his hand isn't, the best curve ever. Because he has, without Oakhenge Ceremony, he's been able to get that puck down every game. Let's hope he doesn't have that ability this time. And hope I can, basically get my answer. Because, he'll play it, unless I, in this case, if he plays puck, or even a Periwinkle, I'm going to need to top deck a Wild. So it's a big risk I'm taking here. But, does he have it every game? Well, if he does, he's a luck sake. In this case, he doesn't. So that's, I took the risk, figured, what are the odds that he's going to get it a third time in a row there? Florina, how you going? Did you miss? Nah, you didn't miss anything interesting. Just me talking crap, as usual. So... it sucks that I don't get a shard there. Just being able to play the Chlorophylla would have been very nice. Maybe I do that. Yeah, let's do that. It's a little greedy, but yeah, like I said, the puck, not the puck, the Howling Brave. He's still with that. Say he plays a resource here. In this case, he doesn't have a ruby, it seems. So he's doing an eye for 1. Come on now. Oh, Jeebus. Oh no! That's just silly. Now, he doesn't have the ruby, so luckily I'm taking no damage there. But I'm still dead. Like, that is just too much. Well, I say I'm still dead. It's very, very likely I'm still dead. Oh, that is a bit ridiculous. Yeah, that didn't quite work out. Sometimes it does, yeah. So I'm doing what I was thinking of doing before. Now, I could... let's see, I've got 3 of these suckers. I've just used the charge power. Unless I hit a shot, I can't play that. That was dirty. That was dirty. Yeah. We'll play down this, and we'll see what we draw, and yeah, because I can still turn this around. Because, like, the fact that he did that tells me his hand is not the greatest. So, I mean, he could just have Carnosaurs, for example, and I'm just, you know, I'm screwed no matter what. But, you know, the fact that he did that, you know, is a sort of a desperation play. So I'm taking 8 here. So I need to now stop his ability, like, you know, next, maybe eating that was the correct move, but we'll see if that, so it does seem like, you know, like I said, it seemed like he did that because his hand isn't that great. So, ooh, getting a shard there is actually quite a big deal. Quite a big deal indeed. So let's think about this. So we can go like this. Now, I'm going to get a little greedy here. I'm going to play the Carnosaur number 1. We're going to make it so he can't do anything else in this game. We're going to try to anyway. We're going to do that. I just stuffed up as well, I might add. I should have technically played that. Well, maybe we want to keep... Maybe we want to keep one of these. Because the only way for him really back in this game at this point... Because, you know, I'm doing this next turn. So... Like, if I wanted to, I could play this out and just battle just for more health, but I don't... No, I'll just pass. Actually, you know what? No. But yeah, what I should have done is not battled with this, and then battled with the second one to gain a little bit extra health. It might not matter, though. I've slowed him down incredibly here. If he gets a ruby, well, then you'll be able to play, at best, well, in this case, a 4-drop, as he got a jewel shard. So I'm not really expecting him to play anything here. Oh... He put those in the deck, and that's a good game. I lose. There's no chance for me now anymore. You know, I took the gamble there. I mean, I didn't know if he'd brought it in or not. You know, I decided not to myself because of you know, I kills my own dudes for starters. But yeah, so that's me dead. Very much so. So I go to 2 health here, and I have no ability to play any of this. So I'm just dead. So there goes my acceleration. I needed, obviously, those to stay alive. Like, I was basically able to kill him next turn if he didn't deal with it, so... I mean, I kind of had to, though, Florina. I kind of had to. But it wouldn't have mattered. He had very likely just all the answers. So, doesn't help me there. So we'll just... Oh, look, another parry. Woo! Let's get another one. Even though that's not possible, let's do it anyway. Alright. So that's that. That was the end of the game. So yeah. That was pretty brutal. But that Eye of Creation for 1 there, getting the 1 Root Father. As I said, an early Root Father, even without the speed and damage there, can just be too much because, you know, it's obviously something that's hard to match. Now, depending, like, if I was a different deck and he did that, that would have been a very risky play. You know, just, you know, Kill could just deal with it, but he probably would have been, you know, being not the first game, if he was against Blood, he very likely would change this to Spell Shield damage, which would then mean Extinction is the only answer. But yeah, so you saw the importance there of the puck, very much important. It really wouldn't have mattered if I didn't, you know, I mean, yeah, I could have played out the Root Father, and played that way, and then blocked his guy, maybe I would have ended up winning the game. But, you know, I didn't know he brought in the Heatwave at that point. For Heatwave main deck? What? You've got 4 Heatwaves in your main deck. Are you crazy? But you're running Braves, Pucks, and Perries, and you've got Heat Waves? That's in the main. I'm surprised. So Incendium once a game, alright. But yeah, so if anyone has questions about the deck, or any of the cards in it, or anything in general, just do @HEX Havoc followed by your question. So I'll go against Incendium here. Do I want to change anything in the deck though? No, it would have mattered if I did play the Root Father, but I wanted to just kill him the next turn. So, you say that, Roy, but there's also going to be a lot of matchups where that's also just a dead card for you, of course, in your main deck. So that's just, I was going to change it, but we'll just go again here. See what Incendium is rocking. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's bad against Mono Blood, but I mean, well, depending on the Winter Moon version, like obviously against my Azure Fate version, it would be fine, but it's also something that you're probably just going to get a 1-for-1 out of it. And if you've played out your pucks and stuff, because obviously they come down before the Azure Fate, well then you're probably still not going to use it, right? So, you know, there's many reasons for not running. I mean, that's fair. With Sage you can buff, yeah, that's fair. That's definitely possible. But yeah. So yeah, I mean we've got our puck here, but so I'm against Running Deer, so wild something, or maybe mono wild. Could just be mono wild fist. It's definitely tough to deal with, but if he is mono wild and he doesn't have, well, there's an Oakhenge. Let's see what we're gonna get with that today. Let's see what it gives us this time. Alright, that's okay, we didn't have one in hand. And it is a to the deck. Snowy the Snow Goose. Nice name. Thank you very much for the follow. So I've got my turn 2 puck. So we'll put him over there, put that over there, put that over there, and we've got pretty much all the cards we can ask for here in hand. It's all going to come down to, is this going to stay alive? Is he mono wild? If he's mono wild, there is still cards that can punish this, but okay, so he's Wild Sapphire. But that's also a decent, you know, that's still good for me, because if he ripples it, as long as I keep drawing shards and keep playing it, it's something he's still going to have to deal with. So he doesn't actually go for the Sapphire there, so that possibly means he's already got one in hand, or well, he's got all the ramp. So that's there's a lot of resources already out there. So we're going to put down the puck here and hope he doesn't have an answer for it. So let's see, what could he do here? Should be alright. There's not many cards that really kill this right now. I mean, obviously Carnosaur is the biggest one, so we'll see if he's running that, if he has it. He's going to heal, that's fine. Azure Fate, so Azure Fate with Spell Shield and the Empowerment, so that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I mean, the Spell Shield's annoying, but the great thing here is, let's see, I mean, I'm going to have to potentially grab a wild here, which is not great. Does that actually help? I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think so. Let's tap him. That's yep, that does work. That's beautiful. So now we get to play the Ruby and all that jazz. Now, however, I could save this, but there's no point really to say. Like, I could use this and do a Ruby, but potentially I want to save that for another day. But that you know, I've got two options to kill here. I could just eat them. I can just nom nom, or I could save this potentially for. It's a tough one, because any other troops he plays, you know, 4 cost and higher, are going to obviously have Spell Shield. So the Croco is. And we'll just put down the Croco. I don't think it matters too much. Maybe it will. Oh. What's he doing? Oh, I guess he could have a Stinkon Super or something. That's... that would be funny. But I'm okay with if he did, you know, did something like that. But that's not really expected. So we'll do that. We'll pass the turn. And obviously I'm in a great position now. I'm going to, while I could save the resource and potentially get a second sage, I don't think this is going to matter too much. As we've got rid of his ramp, he can't play a Windsinger yet, which is the biggest threat he's likely able to play. He can't attack me, and we can do all sorts of good stuff here. So we'll just go for the Rootfather and see if he's got, well... probable counter. So let's bait out the counter with a Balthazar. Doesn't have it. Alright, that's fine. Didn't get a resource. Come on now, that's a bit silly. So I'm gonna have to discard. That's okay though. Well, no, actually I don't have to. Well, I mean I will still have to, but we'll do that. And discard one thing, which will get rid of Croco most likely. So I will attack in. Not really much reason not to. I can jump block with this. So we'll get rid of that. So possibly no counter there, didn't even seem to hesitate or think about it, so it's going to eye for 2, so he's a bit desperate there, it fails. Didn't pay off, so this is pretty much a game over. So now we have all the resources. So we've got 9 to play with. So we'll just do that. Followed by that. Get 2 of those suckers, knowing that, we're against, a deck that its only answers for, mass troops is, you've got things like Yesterday, which I'm obviously not expecting, but Mass Polymorph Dingler being the biggest answer for a, crazy board state, including the hand. He's nowhere near the ability to play that. We've dealt with those Howling Breeze earlier. He's going for another eye for 2. He sees another 2 Sapphire. Oh, man. That is some flibbity floobs. All I need to do is get a ruby. I mean, I don't technically need to do anything, but if I get a ruby, well, then he's got, he just dies. To put it simply, didn't get it, but let's see. Just because, well, no, let's actually do that, and we shall play that. Which, I mean, he's still probably actually just dead here because I can just buff there. So let's see. He can block 5 damage, so he's not taking fatal yet. I mean, I could just kill him. Let's just kill him. We'll put him out of his misery. We'll just do that. Double Rootfather obviously is pretty good. Just a little bit. So lols, says Incendium. So I don't know if he's running pucks or what have you. But yeah, he's running Eye of Creation, so I'd be surprised if he wasn't choosing to go for Running Deer over Winter Moon though, which is interesting. Let's swing in with everything. So we'll go to game 2 here, and obviously I've got some nice sideboard. Minus 38 health there. Bit of damage, just a little bit. So in this case, now that we've seen what he's doing, we're going to definitely bring in all 4 of these. So therefore we take out those lackluster cards. And one more. So we can always cut one of those. So that's fine. Let's just go with it. Oh, I could also cut these. But for what? They're fine. Like if I wanted to, I could do just these for. But yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Not the greatest because now we're down to 20 troops. So maybe I shouldn't do that. We'll leave it in GD. Probably not going to need as many of those. So we'll try it like that. But even these wouldn't be terrible. Even these wouldn't be either. Because he's not always going to get an Azure Fate, of course. But, yeah, we'll leave it like that. You know what? I'm actually going to put that back. It's still a good threat. 2 of those, because, again, I did take out a few troops there. So we'll do 2 of the Okenge. We'll leave in the fatties, because from what we saw, I mean, he's guaranteed running Rootfathers, but what other fatties we don't know. I mean, Windsinger we can assume, we can expect there's at least 2 of those in the deck, and that's obviously a very powerful powerful troop. But we shall see. But yeah, it's a good matchup though. So we do have one Oakenge, which is nice. We can potentially grab a Puck or a Peri. Obviously a Puck is better, but we'll still need a wild shard to make that viable. There's the Peri, so can we get the Pucky Puck? Let's find out. And we get another Peri, but we'll just take the Root Father in this case. And so, I mean, while we could take that just so we have two, we know he's probably, you know, his only permanent answers are probably going to be Carnosaur. But we'll see. Still need one more Azure Fate. Never realized they were going to be so huge in the mana. Yeah, that's a very powerful card. Used in lots of decks. Price. I'm surprised the price went up. I mean, I looked the other day and it was like 700, I think, or maybe even more than that. I don't know. It's pretty nuts. So he's got the Rampy Ramps. Damn it, Peri, go away! So we're gonna just. So this is where having that heat wave would be nice before we put these down. Not getting it just yet, so I'm off to a very slow start here. And also not even having a third resource is bad. So we're very likely going to see an Azure Fate here. And I may just get curved out here. He might just curve out too good. Like if he does the Azure Fate, I need to then get to a Heat Wave. And if I get that, well then I potentially will just slow him down so much that I can get to my things. But, so no Azure Fate even. That's interesting. That's a pretty big deal. Oh, we get the 5-cost Root Daddy. Could make him cheaper, but we'll leave him at 5 because we've got these. So we're going to cycle this one. And hopefully get either a shard or... Well, yeah, we need a shard. Ow! Damn it! Kismet, no! Kismet, no. Why are you doing this? So that's not great. So he's cycling his Root Father, which if he just got that as well, as like I just got mine, he'll be able to play that and that'll pretty much be game over. An early Root Father will, like I said, be a good game for most decks. Except, you know, I mean, if it's not running Spell Shield, then a lot of decks can still kill it. But, yeah. If they don't have the answer, they're gonna probably die. So we do get a resource there. That's pretty nice. A little bit of a gamble here. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to play this out. He'll probably ripple it anyway. If he's running that, which I'd be surprised if he wasn't, you know, didn't have small. The fact that he didn't do that is... Might just have a Carnosaur or something. Does have his Sapphire here. He's now at 7, so we can play that. There's the Carnosaur. So that's okay, because that's pretty much his turn done. We can't do a Windsinger or something really threatening. So we might just see another 2 damage. I mean, so I'm still taking a fair bit of damage here, to be fair. So I'm going to hope to hit a shard here. If not, Alright, so we're going to play that. That was so greedy, says Esotericist. Yeah. So, we'll see if he has another one of these. Based on how he's been playing, I think it's a very high probability we're going to see... Oh, so we're going to see Eye of Creation now. It's Eye of Creation time, so I'm probably dead. But, you know. Oh, he's got Mass Poly. Alright, well, let's cycle that. Go away! Alright, there's a shard. So, that's pretty bad, obviously. And he got to his... Big care, nothing I can do about that. I didn't... Needed to get to... Like, if I got to my Heat Wave, that would have obviously stopped that play. But, oh well, we've still got this. Not great. Not great at all. Looking pretty bad for me now. I mean, it's hard to come back from that, but there are still ways to come back. Obviously, this being one of them. And that's a little bit helpful. Now, sadly, I can't play these. Because just being able to chump with them would actually be pretty decent. So next turn I can do it for 4. If I hit a shard I can do it for 5. So that's not too bad. And it's all going to come down to that. Like if I hit... Like what I need to hit is like a Root Father plus a Balthazar or something like that. to get me all the cards. So now he's got the Spell Shield Azure, but it's also going to buff one of that. So I'm going to take 3 damage here. And if he now has a Root Father, that will obviously be pretty bad. He's going to be able to empower too much and I'll die. So it's all comes down to this, which, you know, I'll probably just hit 3 Balthazars. Let's find out. Come on, give me a shard. There we go. Alright, so I mean, he could also have his last card as counter. If he does, it's game over, obviously, but we have to play to our only option here and see what happens. And no, okay, but we hit. Just 2, but that's still okay. So we will now eat. He's at so many resources, it really doesn't make much of a difference about these anymore, so we'll eat those 2. So maybe no. I'm still. All he needs to do is get to his. Like, I don't know if he's running Balthazar or not. If he is, he'll be able to draw some more cards, or if he has another card draw. But yeah, looks like he might not have anything here, which is actually a big deal. But he's at 38 life. We have to remember. And I'm still. Ooh, that's pretty nice. Let's just play that. Playing it first there because if he did top deck a counter, which obviously was unlikely, but if he did, I wanted to make sure I have a blocker before I swing with both of these, which is still extremely risky because he could have a quick Root Father, and I'll then have to. I'll be dead. To put it simply, I will be dead because he can put it onto here, you know, and have two attackers that are obviously fatal. Plays a puck, that doesn't matter. So I mean, he still had a lot of life though, so it's still. The good thing is here I have very live top decks. You know, Balthazar would be the best draw for me right now. And that's not a Balthazar, so it's a bit unfortunate. But I still can't really swing with a whole lot. But he's obviously got... I mean, he could have got the quick Root Father there. So I could... You know what, let's play it a little bit safe. Let's play it a little bit safe. This game's all going to come down to, like, sure I could put through a bit more damage there if I wanted, but it's all going to come down to me getting to my Balthazar. Like, I need to live, get to that, and then I'm back in the game. Like, 100% way back in the game, if I can get to that. Oof, that hurts. That's actually me dead. Yep, that's... No, it's actually not. Wait, can he empower? Yes, I guess I'm not dead, because the empower, it depends actually what he has... Yeah, so he can buff this and make it kill both and not have it die, but then I go to 1. Otherwise he can, you know, just have it battle, have it die and empower one of these, and then I can still block with the Croco. So I'm not actually dead here. He's deciding to kill. Yeah, he's going to just kill the flyer, and yeah. So I'm obviously in a lot of trouble. Really was hoping to have Jadim on the board when I did the Balthazar. Obviously would draw me a lot of cards thanks to Jadim getting buffed. So what's this? You need full art cards so you get full art Dinglers. So he's obviously not going to swing there, obviously because he's not doing fatal. Ooh, that's decent, but I mean I will play it obviously, but can't really swing it. Getting some damage there. So I mean I'm in a lot of trouble. To put it simply. So yeah, he's you know, using the empowerment, you know, does make Crocos obviously very nice. Can battle even Root Fathers, of course. And there is the thing I was worried about the most, and that's why I didn't attack. But it may actually be. No, I'm not dead. I'm not dead, but it's very bad. It's very bad indeed. But yeah, so had I attacked there, I obviously would be dead, and I was playing around this, knowing about that. So I still need to get like a Balthazar, or another Eye of Creation into Balthazar would be fine. But it's not looking good. So he's going to buff the puck there. He's going to then swing with very likely just the puck, I guess. Which I can then, if I choose, I mean, I might as well double block it. Well, I mean, obviously if he swings with everything, well then that goes out the window. I will chump block and eat that. And then I take 2. I'm very likely to get though. Like, I need to top deck a Miracle to get back in this game right now. So he decides to swing with just the one thing, so we'll double block. It does mean I lose this, which means Balthazar is less good. Which is, you know, it's whatever. It's whatever. Gonna let it happen. So, I mean, it's all about the top deck here, which I'm gonna draw a puck. Here it comes. Oh, Chlorophyll, just as bad. So that is game. Alright. So, alright, let's just save. I'm gonna quickly put my coolie on. It's getting rather warm. It's getting warm, isn't it, Bella? That's now on. What have you done to your leg, Bella? You're like sitting on it. Come here. Here. There you go. There you go. Alrighty. So we're 1 apiece here, going to game 3. See, and that's where, like, even just an Okenge would have actually been decent there, to increase the odds of me getting to the much-needed Balthazar in that situation in the late game. Okenge would have been a decent draw. So that's a nice hand, considering what we know he's running is his early game cards. These are very nice. So we get to do our turn 1 Okenge. Let's hope it doesn't whiff. We shall see. And we got what we wanted, so there he is. So now we have that. Obviously we're not going to play it yet. We can't play it yet anyway. But that's okay when we're running these, and we're going to want to blow things up. So we're now going to let him play all these things. And then yeah, we shall then... Ooh. Interesting. Well, he played a Sapphire. Let's change of plans. Didn't even do a Howling Brave, so I'm not going to... Got no reason to really... to just sit back and wait for him to play out these things. Because without the Howling Braves, he's going to be... You know, maybe he does a Chloro. Now he does a Howling Brave, so that's fine. He's still slow, and I can potentially get out some good threats here. So that actually works out rather nice. So we now play the Sage, and we'll kill that without even using a Heat Wave. We'll just... Pew! Pew pew! Alright, there we go. So now, next turn, if we get well, let's see, so if we hit a Fatty or a Shard, we can just draw a bunch of cards, especially if it's a Wild Shard. He doesn't have the ability to do a counter magic. He does, however, have the ability to ripple. So we do get it. And we're going to buff this. And if he's got it, he's got it. I'm not going to be too sad, because I'll still draw 2 cards, and it's still good. Attacking first, it would have been the correct move, but I didn't think he hasn't shown us Time Ripple, so I wasn't really fussed. But attacking would have been the correct move first, because then if he does he doesn't want to take 8 most likely, so he would ripple if he had it. So it is the correct move. I'm just lazy. So now in this case, now that we have everything we could possibly need, we don't need 2 of those. We don't even need 1 of those. I don't need any of them. So we're going to... We don't even need that, and we'll get rid of 1 of those. Because I want to keep the Ruby, because that's our Heat Wave now. Now that we've got 2 of these guys, we've got the Heat Wave just with the Shard. So he maybe plays a Azure Fate now, which I'll then kill. And if he doesn't do anything, well, then I just play this out and do the Wild Shard, or I could, I could just do a Root Father, obviously. But we'll see what he does. But he's pretty dead, he's got a threat, you know, he needs to answer, but then I've got all these other things on the board that are desperation. I have creation there. Didn't pay off like it did for our previous opponent there. Didn't quite pay off. So now that I got the Periwinkle, I can now at 10 shards. So that's pretty damn sweet. So now we'll Super GG him. I mean, technically I'm at 11 with the charge power, but let's do the Super GG. Oh, I guess I have to do that first. Buff up the Balthazar, why not? Then we'll play the Perry, and then we'll Super GG him with a double Rude Father. Kablamo! And that's all she wrote. Alright, so yeah, I do like the Oak Henges, maybe 4 of them. I mean, you know, the meta is obviously going to change quite drastically when it comes to Primal Dawn. And maybe this deck won't even be viable anymore. It depends on you know, how the meta is going to be. Like, it's going to be completely different, though. People with at the beginning probably just complement their existing decks. But then, you know, there'll be people who complement their decks with new things, with new toys. And then there'll be people with new decks that they've just built and, you know, very powerful, and that is going to dictate how the meta unfolds, basically. All these new toys. So yeah, any questions? Let me actually read the chat here. Shafty, what did you say? You might have casted Jadine that turn. I don't think it really mattered. I was in a very dominating spot there, but yeah, definitely alternate options. So there's the deck once again. Yeah, like obviously, like I said, these are going to come out, like those and that. Like these are all. This is pretty much the staples of the deck. These cards here. I think once set 4 comes along, maybe Oakhenge does get cut. Maybe it goes. You know, maybe I'll go back down to 2 again. You know, that's something that it's tough to really. You know, because sometimes you're gonna, like, it worked in several of those games there where it was nice, and I got what I wanted or got what I needed. You know, in the case of getting a puck and then getting a Carnosaur, that was obviously very nice. I just did 2, and I think that'll probably do for the episode there, of Force. But yeah, you know, if anyone has any more questions, just do @HexTabic followed by the question relating to this, or the meta in general. And then obviously reserves are going to get a you know, very big overhaul, I feel. Again, we're going to have a load more cards, and the reserves are not tweaked properly anyway in their current existence. Yeah, but these are, you know, these are pretty much the staples. You know, these ones here, well, minus those. You know, you don't need to run them. I do like them though. As I said, the Oakhenge Ceremony is something that will help you get to those much needed early threats, as you saw in some of the games there. You know, without the puck or without a parry. I mean, mainly puck, right? If you don't get that, you're very slow. Even with, you know, Cressida obviously helps you there. But yeah, and that's where Oakhenge can help you get to those early threats that you want, that are must-answer threats. And then late game you can get to your Crocos or your Carnosaurs or your Balthazars or your win conditions, you know, be it a Root Father. Anyway, I can challenge you to make a Grunt Oath deck. A Grunt Oath deck. I mean, I could definitely do it. I might do it after the show, as I'll probably continue to stream. But yeah, so next week's episode, I don't know what deck I'm going to be doing yet, but it will be something from the meta. So I'll probably get people to vote for that via YouTube comments. Do you have a preference for a Shinho deck in the current meta? I mean, there's not really any Shinho decks in the current meta which are, you know, top tier. So unless you want to give me some examples, like some Hex meta links, like I know there's some that can work really nice, but yeah, in terms of results, there really just hasn't been really any Shinho decks that gets, you know, getting results basically. Quickly have a drink. So yeah, let's actually have a look at Hex meta again. Where is it? Hex Manor, here we go. Can we actually, you know what, let's sort by value here. See if that works. There's only one you saw recently, Shinhara Trap. So I don't know if that's working. Doesn't seem to be. Trying to sort by value so we can have a look at the most expensive Cressida Periwinkle / Puck deck, as that's the filtering I'm doing here. Doesn't seem to be working though. Not sure why. Let's try also set it to like 5 wins. And we'll sort by... I think I killed it. I think I killed it! Alright, let me try and fix that. Oh, the bunny deck? Yeah, no, that's yeah, it's a deck that's easily interrupted. Like, I actually have it built. It's not really in the meta. It's a very fun combo, but easily interrupted combo, like deck. That's yeah. But if your opponent, like, obviously is not expecting it, you can, as you say, just get one shot by it. As did you do it? Cause yes, I did. So I have it built here somewhere. Let me see if I. Oh, it said bunny. There it is. So it's fun. It's fun. And it's all about Harvest of Sorrow. Like, that's its key card and Hideous Conversion. And you're just flooding the board with the tons of bunnies. You then do a harvest of, you say you flood the board with a bunch of bunnies, which obviously, where is it? The Ritualist of the Spring Litter allows you to do. You're putting out all these bunnies everywhere. Then you start sacrificing them. Say you sacrifice 8 bunnies. You then harvest a Sorrow for 8 cards. You then play out a bunch more bunnies. You then sacrifice those. And then you do another Harvest of Sorrow, which you'll get the initial 8 cards from your first sacrifice, because it's still the same turn. And then, say you've sacrificed another 10 bunnies after that, well then there's 18 more cards. And then you just flood the board with more bunnies. And you've probably still got a bunch of resources left over. And then you just life siphon and you GG your opponent. It's very fun. It's something actually Coma did in the Coma versus Twitch thing I did the other week. Where I had Coma on the stream, and he ran this deck basically. I built it and then made my own little version with a couple of differences. Like, I put in a one Withering Touch, which is just basically there for when you're about to do that life siphon. You want to make sure they can't stop it, so you just like do that first, then do your life siphon for Fatal. Another thing I actually didn't like. This is a card, obviously Cosmic Totem here. Is something I hadn't really looked at in a very long time. But something interesting that I did, which was just for a bit of fun, was you void it, right? You put the target champion's crypt, so you put your crypt, and it's into second target champion's deck, so not just back in your deck. You put all these, like, I actually had one game where there must have been like 50 dead bunnies in my grave, just battle hoppers galore. And I was like, you know what? Here, have a whole bunch of bunnies, and I put them 50 bunnies into my opponent's deck, and then I just laughed. It was fun. It was fun. My opponent had a good laugh too, like, oh, that's not very nice. But the thing about this though, right, is you can say you are going to draw too many cards with this. Like, say you've sacrificed 1,000,000 bunnies, you can actually use that, put them all back in your deck, then draw. Pretty much, I had one game where I drew actually too many cards. It pretty much killed. Like, I had just millions of cards going to my hand. It was ridiculous. But incredibly fun, don't get me wrong. So that's that there. I'll leave it up there for a few seconds. So if you want to play it, like, it is fun. It is a lot of fun. But while I still got the show active, going, I'll end the show. I'm going to mention the next giveaway for this week's show. And then I'll, if you guys want to play against this, we'll do that. But so we'll come back to this in a moment. But yeah, so let's head on over to something. Just give me a second. Too bad. I mean, they're shardless, but they're drawing a battle hopper. It's no good. But that's just, it's something that, it has very key cards that if it doesn't get them, the Hideous Conversion obviously being one of them, the Harvest of Sorrow. But anyway, we'll come back to that in a moment, and I'll do some games, and then potentially we'll make that Grant Oath deck you wanna see. I'm not sure why, but we'll have a look at that. For now, let's cap off the show by going over to here. So yeah, that was eye creation, and let's look at the giveaway. This is a special giveaway. Here we go. Oh snap! Oh, here it is. Oh snap! Thank you to Nero Genus, or Nero Generous as he's known. This is going to be the giveaway. So all you gotta do is when this video is on, when this highlight is on the YouTubes, all you gotta do is like and comment to the video. Just what I'll get you to do is, I mean, either just say what you think about Ruby Wild. If there's any cards that you're thinking from Primal Dawn, you know, tell me what card in Primal Dawn you think will be good in a Puck/Periwinkle deck in the comments, and feel free to also vote on what deck you would like to see me break down next week. But yeah, and this is the giveaway: a Cerulean Mirror Knight alternate art. That's like a $60-70 card right there. So very, very big thank you to Nero. And so that's all you got to do. You just got to comment and like. Localization failure, new keyword. Yeah, it's just an old image, but it was the best high quality image I had. So I could probably find one somewhere that didn't have that, but it's, you know, it's a new keyword. Yeah, it's set 5 localization failure. Indeed, basically, you know what they should do? They should make it so there's a card that scrambles an opponent's card, you know, like scrambles their whole hand. So the cards all just change, and you don't know what's what. So you're like casting stuff, not knowing what it is. Like you've still got your hand that you had, but you don't know what's what. Like this card might look like this card, but it's actually a different one, and another. So you end up casting the wrong things. That'd be pretty funny. That would be pretty funny. But anyway, so yeah, that's the giveaway, and that's the end of the show. So I'm gonna, as I said, I'm gonna still continue streaming, and we'll do some fun stuff. But that is the end of the show. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, feel free to comment the things I just mentioned. You know, let me know a card from Primal Dawn in the comments that you would think would fit nicely in the Ruby Wild ramp deck. So yeah, thanks again, and thanks again to Nero. That is the end of the show. And consider subscribing if you're liking the show. Alrighty, thank you again.